Welcome to NASPA Tonight. I'm your host, Josh Greenway. This is the sometimes weekly, sometimes bi-weekly live Scrabble show. We are now live on YouTube. I encourage everybody to hop on the comment thread. This is a big night for us. We've previously only been broadcasting live to Facebook. Tonight, we're making the move over to YouTube. We're doing it for a few different reasons. Hello to Alec. Hello to someone from Ottawa who's never watched live before. We're making the move over to YouTube for a couple of reasons. Hello, Portia. Number one, I think it provides a better viewing experience for people. I think people are used to watching shows longer on YouTube. But the big difference is we're going to have one combined comment thread over here. So if you want to have your voice known, if you want to ask our guests any questions, whatever you want to do, that's all going to happen in the comment thread. It's going to be easier for me to follow along with the comments, so it's just going to be a better deal overall. So tonight is the first night we're going to be on YouTube. So let's get into it. Tonight we're going to be talking about Lake George results. Lake George is a very large tournament that takes place in Lake George, New York at the same time every year. In the fall, the fall colors are absolutely beautiful in Lake George. I am one of the co-organizers and directors of Lake George. We had a hell of a turnout with 132 Scrabble players vying for over 10 grand in prize money. And we'll be talking with one of those winners coming up right now. I want to introduce you to my very special guest. You may know who this person is. This is the one, the only, Matthew O'Connor. Matt, how are you?
Hey, how's it going, Josh?
Good. Things are fantastic. So thanks for joining us here tonight. I want to bring everybody up to speed on who you are. We're working on Matthew's camera settings, so that's why he's coming in a little bit black and white. So Matthew O'Connor is the 2017 World Youth Scrabble Champion, which is an awesome thing to be. He's been playing tournaments since he was 8 years old. He is a student at Skidmore College. And when you were at the World Youth Scrabble Championship, you had a high word score of 221 points with chorizos. Is that true? Oh, okay. Well, there you go. It's still pretty good play, chorizos.
I'm sure Mark Francelon remembers it vividly.
Very good. So let me know in the comments how Matthew's volume is. We've kind of got it cranked, but there may be it may be coming across a little quiet. Maybe you can let me know in the comments if that is the case. So Matthew, how did things go in Lake George? I think you won some money. Is that right?
Yeah, I won 240 USD. I think it was 140 USD and 135 Canadian because decided to take some Canadian entry fees.
Nice. So your volume is a little bit low. What I would suggest is just the more that you can speak up, the better. That's probably what, I don't know if the volume button on your iPhone headphones goes up anymore, but maybe you can try that. The other thing you could do, but you're on a Linux machine. So yeah, we've definitely got some people that are having trouble hearing you. They're saying like 3 out of 10, stuff like that. So why don't we do this? If you want to do your best to take a look at your audio settings and see if there's any way to raise them. Like on a PC, normally you can go into sound settings and there's like an input volume. So I know you're on a Linux machine, but maybe you can look for something like that. And what I'll do is I'll do the first story solo, and then I'll bring you back on. How does that sound, Matt?
Sounds good.
Okay, very good. Oh, and actually, your dad and my partner in crime at the Lake George tournament is online, and he says, is he on his phone? So that is another way to come in if you're on an Android or iPhone. So sorry, everybody, a little technical. And Kieran, if you have any suggestions for raising the input volume on a Linux box, why don't you shoot that over to Matt? And Matt, if you want to come in live from your iPhone, that's a possibility. What you got to do, if you hit the link that I sent you, it should bring you to the app, which will bring you in, or go to the App Store and search Stage 10. In the meantime, I am going to now cover our first story, and then we'll try to bring Matt in. This is what it's like with live streaming, folks. Things can have to happen on the fly. So, one of the interesting things that happened at Lake George, first of all, it was a hell of a tournament, and I appreciate everybody that was able to attend. But we had an incident early on in the tournament that I like to call POPTART-GATE. So here's basically what happened. We put out snacks for people to eat during the tournament, and so basically for the last year or so, or the last couple of tournaments, I've put out Pop-Tarts onto the snack table, and I always think people are going to eat Pop-Tarts like cold or room temperature or whatever. I mean, they're Pop-Tarts, so they're pretty good that way. But we had a player, Winter, who had never had a Pop-Tart before. This was going to be his first Pop-Tart experience. And so what he did, this particular playing room had a microwave in it. So he took the Pop-Tart, threw it on a paper plate, threw it into the microwave, and figured, well, he was taking a guess. How long can a Pop-Tart take to cook in a microwave? And so he went for kind of a default time, which I think makes sense. Like almost anything you put into a microwave, you throw it in for a minute and you're probably going to be pretty close. So in this particular case, when it comes to Pop-Tarts, and this is the box that the Pop-Tart came from, I'm going to find the instructions here. Basically, what the instructions say to do for cooking time, for microwave, it says, number one, put on a microwave-safe plate. I don't know if a paper plate is a microwave-safe plate. And then heat 3 seconds. That's how long you're supposed to cook a Pop-Tart for. So when he put it in for a minute, it was like 20 times. Exactly, too much. Who are you, Fuchsia Bat? Maybe that would help. But Fuchsia Bat says too long. And Alec adds, depends on how much water is in the food. Anyway, a minute was way too much. So he opens up the door, and boom, all kinds of smoke starts coming out of the microwave. And he pulls the plate out, and it's like the Pop-Tart is not on fire, but it's smoking like it's on fire. So he pulls it out, immediately realizes he's getting this big burnt toast smell, and that is drifting throughout the entire playing room. Basically, everybody starts going, oh my God. Hello, Liam. Thanks for being a newcomer. So then he immediately realizes what's happened, and he runs out of the room into sort of the lobby area. That area immediately smells like burnt toast. And now I want to set the scene. This is the last round of the tournament. People are playing live games, and they're being choked out by this burning Pop-Tart. So at that point, most of the players stuck it through. One of them, our friend Chris Kulig, could not take the smell of burnt toast. So he ran out of the room, ran into the lobby, realized it was still there, ran completely outside the hotel. So now, as a Scrabble director, what you need to do is you need to keep going. You need to keep the tournament going. So at that point, Matt, things are looking good, by the way. I haven't been able to respond to your text. I'm going to bring you right back in after this story. But I run out to the parking lot to go find Chris Kulig, and I'm like, hey, Chris, we need to get you back in there. And he's talking about he can't take the smell of the burnt Pop-Tart. He ends up returning, and he goes, oh, I've got an idea. So Chris is like an artist. He does some painting. Sometimes he does that in enclosed spaces. So he went out and he got himself his trusty gas mask. So there he is. He put the gas mask on, and he then came back into the tournament to play. I think I've got a picture here of. Let's see if this works here. The picture is a little misaligned here, but I think you'll get the idea. He just went on to play his game, with the gas mask on, looking like Bane. So that's the story of Pop-Tart-GATE. This will be the last time we put out Pop-Tarts at a Scrabble tournament because of this. And it's also super weird to have a microwave right in the playing room. But these are the kind of things that can happen at Scrabble tournaments. You never know what is going to go right or wrong. That's how it shakes out. You deal with it the best you can. We then had the maintenance guys come in, try to clear the room of the smell, and the next day you could still kind of smell it. Okay, we're gonna bring Matt back onto the show. How are we doing now, Matt? You look great.
Good. I think is the audio better quality?
Yes, the audio is better quality. Absolutely.
Does it make sense that I can't see myself?
No, not really. But we can see you. That's the important part. Can you see me?
I can see you.
Okay, good stuff. So, as I said before, Matt is the World Youth Scrabble Champion from 2017. So, Matt, you've played in a ton of tournaments, probably closing in on 150 or something. I didn't go to Cross Tables to take a look.
There's 180. There's
180. Wow.
Something like that.
Gotcha. So, but where does the win on the World Youth Champion level, where does that rate to other tournament performances? Is that near the top? Is it the top?
Well, it was an MSI tournament, so it's probably maybe 10th or 20th.
Okay. Well, there you go. Where was the World Championship played that year in 2017?
Nottingham, England.
Okay. Nice. Well, and that's pretty cool to be able to go over to England and play Scrabble. I think that warrants a mention of the fact that you play the International Lexicon, which is played around the world, where the majority of North Americans play the North American Dictionary. But you play lots of tournaments here, and we offer the International Dictionary here. Is that right?
Yeah, we do.
What prompted you to switch over to Collins from TWL?
Well, in 2014, the dictionary was getting updated, and Zizova was going to get locked, so I just decided to jump ship.
Right. Okay. Gotcha. And have you had any regrets since shifting over?
There was a time in the middle where I was getting sick of 5-point challenge, but I decided that it doesn't quite add up to wanting to switch back to TWL because I like the extra words a lot better.
Okay, so, and just to catch everybody up, what Matt is talking about is with the International Dictionary, not only are there more words, as Matt alluded to, but the way you challenge words off the board is slightly different as well. So in North American, it's kind of the box top rules of Scrabble, where if you make a bad word and the other person challenges, you lose your turn, and vice versa. So if I challenge your word and it is good, I would lose my turn. 5-point challenge allows you to challenge someone else's word, and if it's good, you just give up 5 points to them. Is that a fair summary?
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Okay, very good. And so I hear you. Now, I have some inside gossip. It looks like we're getting ready to run a trial to allow people playing the North American Dictionary or directors running North American Dictionary tournaments to experiment with 5-point challenge. So I think that's going to be interesting. We'll see how many directors take them up on that, what players' responses will be. And, I think it's interesting. I play the North American Dictionary, and I've had to change my game a lot because of double challenge. But I don't know. What do you think about North Americans playing with 5-point challenge? Good idea? Bad idea?
Don't do it. Don't do it. Go the other way. If you lose a challenge, you lose the game. I think that would be amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so
Cool.
tell me what you thought of this year's Lake George tournament. Just to set, before I ask you that question, hold on a sec. So, Lake George tournament has run for like 19 years in a row. It was run by the amazing Annette Tedesco, and since her unfortunate passing last year, your dad, Kieran O'Connor, and myself have taken over running this tournament. So this was the first time that we did that on the 20th year of the tournament. And we also switched to a new venue for the first time in I don't know how many years. So what was your overall impression of how the tournament ran, with what the venue was like, and just what you think of the Lake George tournament? I imagine you played it tons of times because you're local.
Yeah, I think that was my 8th. I played in 2010, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and then took 2 years off during school, and then I played this year. So it was my 8th event, and it was great. And the fact that it was at the surf side, I think it was a very smooth transition. I want to give thanks to people like Nick, the maintenance guy.
Absolutely.
And Mark was the events guy.
Yep. For sure. No, they did a hell of a job, the staff there, and I agree. I think the transition went pretty smoothly. Now, why don't we hop right into there you go. Will Anderson, by the way. Hello to Will Anderson, North American champion from 2017, I think. Is that, you should know, Matthew. When did he win the North American Championship?
Yeah, 2017.
Okay. Very good. He says 5 points for newcomers, double for higher divisions, which could make some sense.
I don't think it would be any fun like switching to Collins and you don't know any Collins only words, and I just phoned the hell out of you for the whole game. For
sure. Well, this is why I sometimes joke that Collins is a bit of a pyramid scheme. Because if you come in at the bottom, you're going to get pushed around until you sort of build yourself up, and you got to wait for more people to come in at the bottom so you can push them around. Think there's any truth to that?
Oh yeah, there's probably an issue in that you start with your TWL rating, and then
absolutely
a lot of people show up not knowing any Collins, so they're probably a bit overrated.
That's right. So those NWL or TWL ratings, those are what gets sucked up into the pyramid scheme, and they just move up to the top. Anyway, I say that jokingly. There are many Collins players that I love and respect.
How the hell am I supposed to hit 2072?
Okay. So, let me just do something. Oh, I know what we're going to do. We are going to talk about some of the winners of Lake George. So why don't we get into that right now?
All right, sounds great.
Okay, so first of all, we're going to do it this way. Okay, first of all, winning the entire thing is the one, the only Cesar del Soler. I always say his name wrong. I love Cesar. He managed to win Division 1. And I don't know if you heard about this, Matthew, but he came in with a new strategy. Coming into the Meow Meow, exactly. So there was a lot of interest in what the meow meow strategy was. And here's the thing for anybody joining us for the first time: competitive Scrabble is a real endeavor. I mean, we're not at the very highest level. Sure, people are playing for fun. People are playing to meet other people. These are important parts of our community, but they're really looking to achieve. And you fit into that category, Matthew, where the competitive aspect is super important. And so at that point, while Scrabble, a lot of the time, knowing words is important. Knowing how to kind of control the board is important, but mindset is a very important piece. And as I learned from Cesar, that's what the meow meow is all about. Maybe before we get into his comments on it, Matthew, you can tell me whether you've ever struggled with mindset, had to adjust for things like focus, or if it's just sort of come to you and you just play straight up.
No, of course not. It's you shouldn't be happy if you've lost 6 games in a row. But there's a difference between being mad at the results of the tournament and letting that carry over into the next round. You should always try to go into the next round with a clear head. Just be ready to roll. If you look at my results from this weekend, I was pretty annoyed at myself when I was 6-5. But I went to the next day with a clear mind, and I won 4 games, and I had to win all 4 to make any money, and I walked away $240 richer.
Right. Yeah. Gotcha. So, sorry, you started at 6-5, right, and then you went 4-0 down the stretch. See, that's pretty sweet. Has there ever been a time in your Scrabble career where that 6-5 derails you the rest of the way because you're on tilt?
Well, I mean, I've fallen off a cliff during tournaments, figuratively. I've gone from good records to bad ones, but I think a lot of those are because I drew well, and then badly. Right.
Well, there you go. Can you explain the concept of tilt for the viewers?
Well, just tilt is when you're mad. And it can happen for a lot of reasons. Maybe. But
it throws off your game, right? That's the idea. Is you get upset, and then you just take. Yeah.
You just throw a random play down if you're mad.
Okay, so let's get into what the meow meow is, and of course, the marketing of a strategy like the meow meow is what's important. Because that's what had people talking. That's what got me interested. That's why I reached out to Cesar to have him explain what the heck the meow meow was. So, here we go. And we've got Frank Tangretti in the comments there. Frank has definitely been on tilt, he says. So, Cesar was responding to a link on Thursday, which I think is before Cesar got there, I'm not sure, where Winter was saying because he had lost a game, he didn't have a chance to achieve his top 10 North American status, okay? And what Cesar came back with is he's like, you're not supposed to think about what you need to do to make up for this game or whatever. You have to be present in the moment. And responding to that, Jackson said, the power of now, to which Cesar immediately responded, or meow meow as I call my new method. Okay? So that's where the name of it came from. It was actually inspired by a former co-host of this show, Jackson Smiley. But Cesar goes on to explain that Jackson was referring to the power of now, basically being in the moment, not focusing on the past or the future, staying in the present, and the less time you waste thinking, if I win this game and the next one I'll be 8-3 or 7-4 or whatever, you have more time to actually think about the game, okay? And this is very important. So Cesar, I think a lot of people know that already, but what Cesar then did is he went to, he took a look at some sports psychology. He read a book called The Inner Game of Tennis. I don't know the author. You can Google that. Maybe we'll put a link to it in the description below. But the book talked about how in order to stay present in those moments, players would focus on things like the seam of the tennis ball as it was moving around, or they would listen to the bouncing of the ball. And that kept them from thinking about past losses, what could happen in the future, stuff like that. I know I certainly suffer from that when I do play, which is less and less these days. And then from there, it's about achieving focus and deep concentration, and keeping out intrusive or negative or judgmental thoughts. So the way Cesar applied that in Lake George is he spent time, and he writes about it. It's pretty funny. He spends time looking at the actual tiles, like the edges of the tiles. He's hearing people shake the tiles at other games. And he said he probably looked like a madman because he would be closely staring at a single tile, trying to look at the little faded dots on its printing. And meanwhile, focusing on things like how the tile feels, how it clicks into the spot. And it's with that focus, and look, Cesar's a great player, obviously, that he was able to achieve a Division I win, taking home 800 US. So what do you think about that theory, Matt? Have you been able to achieve focus in some other way? What do you think of Cesar's experience and the approach that he took? That's what I'm curious about.
Well, typically I like to watch the game next to me while I'm playing.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I'm sure anyone in the comments who's watched me play enough knows this.
Okay. Shout out Matt in the comments if you think he's been spying on your game while he's playing his.
And I think a good reason for this is because if you spend less time looking at the board, you spend less time looking at spots. And I think it's also a great idea to not touch your tiles while they're on your rack, because then if you put a 4-letter word together, it looks like you're not going to bingo.
Right. So you're saying you give away too much information by how you position the tiles on your rack.
Yeah, absolutely. There are alphabetizers out there. They're probably in the comments. And what I want you to know is that if you put the Z down and it's not the rightmost tile on your rack, that I know you have a playing. Right.
See, this is good pro-level advice for wannabe Scrabbles out there. We've got a nice, we're up to almost 30 people watching this live, which is generally about what we would do on Facebook, maybe a little bit more, but there'll be lots of people that will watch it, the recording version of it. But 30 concurrent is not that bad for live. But in case you are not part of our Scrabble community and you want to know what the hell we're talking about, I would suggest you, first of all, check out this channel. There's lots of competitive Scrabble on this channel. You can learn a bunch about Scrabble, and also you can reach out in the comments. I'll be happy to talk to you about how people get involved in this game. And we're talking here obviously about the highest level, but we're going to cover some of the other winners through the weekend, and we group players by different divisions based on skill set. So Scrabble has a place for everybody, and we always are very welcoming to new players. So let's move on from Cesar and let's go to your division, the Collins division. And the winner this week was none other than Jason Keller. So nice job, Jason. So what do you think? You lost to Jason, right? I mean, you came in third. How did you do head-to-head against Jason?
It's weird because I used to have a really bad record against him, and I think I'm 6-5 or 6-6 in our last set of games. So I think I just used to get, I think it was like bad momentum, and then I kind of snapped out of it. But I did lose to him this weekend. Okay,
there you go. So Jason wrote a lengthy Facebook post as well about his win, and I thought it was really touching, actually, because the main thrust of his post was about Annette. Now, I've got a special surprise for everybody, and that is none other than the man himself, the man we're talking about, is here to join us now. Jason, we're here. You need some headphones, man.
I need some headphones. I have headphones right here.
Okay, why don't you plug those in? And actually, what I would suggest, again, under the heading of, okay, let's see if this works. I want everybody on YouTube to tell me if something is up with the sound. By that I mean, did our voices go really high or really low based on the connection of new audio devices during the show? That's what I want people to look out for. If something's wrong, we can fix it. But in the meantime, Jason, yep. I was just about to reveal the main thrust of your Facebook post, where you talked about how it sort of hit you emotionally when you won the division and what would have happened in the past. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, you know what? It's just, just one thing is that, just the bond that I shared with Annette Tedesco. And just that, any time that I'd win one of her tournaments, I'd be really excited, and she'd be able to tell from across the building that I had won the tournament. So it was always. I mean, I remember I won the Collins division in Saratoga. After every time that I'd gone to Saratoga, I'd come in third. It didn't matter. It didn't matter. It was like I was leading the division, and then I came in third, or I was like behind, and then I came in third. Like it was crazy because I went to Saratoga 3 times and I came in third. And so then I came back to Saratoga and I had switched over to Collins, and I was Gibsonized, and it was funny because when I went out of the room, I mean, the first thing that I did was I looked for Annette. And
right.
So the thing was, I mean, I was just very acutely aware that there was no Annette to have been looked for.
Yes.
Which just really, just in that moment, it just kind of hit me really hard. And
you also made a very nice comment that you probably would have had an email in your inbox the morning after.
You know what? I might have, maybe even by the time that I got home. Maybe even, but yeah, no, I think that because, Annette would be up at 6 o'clock in the morning and sending out emails. I'd always get that, like, Annette, maybe Annette, just the quick typing and it would be it would be that sort of thing.
Okay, so here's what I'm going to ask both of you. I'm going to go to Matthew first. Matthew, you've been playing tournaments since you were 8 years old. I suspect that some of the earliest tournaments you played in were Annette's tournaments. Can you tell people sort of what you remember about Annette, what she, kind of what your interactions with her were like?
Yeah, it's crazy. I've been playing since 2007, I think longer than Jason even, and my first tournament was the early bird of one of Annette's Saratoga tournaments, and she was there, and she was very happy that I was there, and and then I kept going to them. Albany, Lake George, there was one in Massachusetts once.
Oh,
and
yeah?
She's always there. Yeah. She was always hosting us. She was always having us. So, yeah, it's great.
For sure. Jason, why don't you give me a little bit, maybe what you can do is let viewers know what was unique about Annette? Like, what would be the first thing you would notice about Annette Tedesco?
Oh, I mean, you know what? I have to say, like, I considered Annette like my like replacement grandmother, since my other grandmothers had passed away. I kind of feel like, I mean, I don't know if it makes it unique, but she was to me like the kind of a typical Italian grandmother in a sense. And I mean I actually had a babysitter who, bless her, she's still alive, but she was like an Italian grandmother when I was like 5 years old, and she's still alive. But I kind of equate the two of them. And then she has some other, like, also very typical New York. She'd regale me with stories about living in Brooklyn and
working on Wall Street.
Yeah. She actually didn't. She never mentioned to me that she worked on Wall Street.
Oh my God!
No, but she mentioned that she ran a business and she was very successful. And
yes,
but also just how connected. Like, just she wanted to be in on what was going on.
For sure.
She wanted to connect. Like, I mean, I remember the first tournament that I went to was a July 4th tournament, and I was maybe, like, I'd been playing Scrabble for maybe a year, right? Or very close to, actually, it hadn't even been a year, but so I didn't know very many people. And I was playing, and so it was really funny because I was talking about how, I wanted to get better. It was funny because I was talking with Chris Sykes, who at the time was like maybe one of the top experts there. And it was funny because she was like, well, do you want to play a game with him? I'm like, I don't think I'm ready. But, she encouraged, she was always very encouraging to people. And one thing, I'd say with the July 4th, I know that it's kind of not the right time to be talking about it. That would be July 4th. But it did feel also like, like it was going back in time a little bit to, like, days of summer camp and things. So...
Absolutely. So what I was going to go for was Annette's voice.
Oh, yes.
It was unmistakable.
Oh,
it
yes.
was a heavy
Gravelly.
New York accent and gravelly.
Yes.
One of the things that Annette did that was absolutely wonderful. I first played, I can't remember whether it was July 4 or Lake George, but when I registered, and it would be the first time that I was going to play in her tournament, she called me on the phone.
Oh, yeah.
And her voice... Yeah. I literally thought it was a crank call. I didn't think anybody would have that voice. And of course, like many other people, I would grow to love Annette and was lucky enough to get a chance to work with her. Now, we're going to continue to talk about Lake George. We did a whole episode on Annette Tedesco. If you're interested in this kind of content, you can always go back on the channel. We have lots of remembrances about Annette, but it's hard to talk about Lake George or any of these tournaments without talking about Annette. So here's what I want to go to next. Why don't we do this? So, okay, Jason, you won Collins. You were happy about it. You missed Annette. Are there any other quick headlines of your win?
Are you asking me to transition into what I think contributed to my win?
Yeah, because you talked about it in your post.
Yeah.
You talked about, was it the process? What did you call it?
The routine.
The routine. Tell me about the routine.
Yeah, well, so as I said, if you hadn't read the post, which I know I keep them friends locked, so a lot of you might not have seen it. I was actually kind of frustrated. I won a one-day in Manhattan, but I was kind of frustrated with how everything was going. And one thing that I do not do very well is keep track of things. My tracking, I'm always having to go back a lot.
Oh, really?
I am meteorically wrong sometimes on my tracking. And so I said, things that I'm trying to do are not happening, and I had a conversation with Randy Goldberg, and, we talked through, and I was like, I'm just going to start playing a game against Quackle, and it's actually funny because I'm right in front of my laptop screen so I have my rack, and I have my bag of tiles, and I've actually been playing against Quackle, letting it choose the racks for me.
Oh, yeah, right.
But put the tiles on the rack, and actually go through, like, well, what is my routine going to be for when I'm, recording my racks, for when I'm recording my plays, for when I'm tracking. So
okay.
I talked a little bit about. We called it the routine because of a Friends reference. If y'all know the episode, the one with the routine.
I don't. But give it to us.
So the thing was Ross and Monica are super excited because they've gotten into Dick Clark's New Year's Rockin' Eve, and they're like background dancers, but they keep not getting on camera, and so they figure that if they do this routine that they did in middle school.
Oh, yes. I've seen the meme.
Yes.
I've seen the meme, yes.
Yes. So,
someone posted it on the comment thread.
Yes,
okay, yeah.
Yes. And because we toss Friends references about a lot. In fact, right now, I'm sure everyone wants to know that I'm wearing my apartment pants. It's just been, remind yourself of the routine. Just make sure that you're doing it. And it also had a little bit to do with, if I'm thinking a little bit more about what I'm doing, and I say this to my tutoring students all the time when they're taking the SAT or whatever, that a lot of times if you're thinking about the result, it's not going to come. It's when you think about what you're actually doing and make sure that you're doing it, that the result comes.
All right, very good.
Yeah.
So I love it. We're hearing different approaches. I don't know if you heard Matthew's approach to how you place the tiles on the rack and whether you move them around and stuff like that in terms of giving information to your opponent. I thought that was a really interesting insight. Matt, I'm interested to know, have you ever watched Friends?
I've seen the pilot.
Okay, very good. How old are you, Matt?
21.
So, first of all, Jason, I think you'd agree with me. At 21, to achieve what Matt has achieved in Scrabble is pretty damn impressive. Even though 21 feels like too young to have watched Friends. And for Matthew's sake, Friends was a show about 6 friends who lived in $1 million apartment.
Yeah.
Okay, here's what I want to do.
Probably one of the worst offenders on the lifestyle they lead versus their jobs.
That's right. That's exactly right. Okay, here's what I want to do. I want to go to our next winner. We're going to cruise through the rest of the winners. And I noticed, by the way, that and Mina gave me a helping hand. I swear to God, I have been mispronouncing. I need like an hour lesson on how to pronounce Cesar's name. That might have been better. I'm not sure. But I noticed he joined us in the comments. So he's there. So if you have any questions for Cesar, God, I really can. I don't know what's wrong with me. Okay, here we go. Winning Division 2 in NWL and absolutely loving life. I really like this picture here. Oh, wait. Here, I'm going to put it so that we can see the picture better. We'll do this. There we go. That's Carol McDonald. Absolutely thrilled to have won Division 2, taking home $700, which was very nice. And she's been a longtime player at these events as well. Then we had in Division C, we had a runaway with Ine wearing the cat hat or the Catwoman mask. This was a surprise to us because she often wears this hat, but I guess the mask part is rolled up. I've never seen it rolled down like that. So I really enjoyed what we're seeing here is I like to take selfies with winners. I find that generally, I don't know if you guys would agree with me here. I like to make the joke that when I take these winner selfies, that all the pictures of me that are of me and they just happen to have other players in them. But the real reason that I do selfie pictures is I find people like smile more. Way too many tournaments take pictures of players after they've won something. They're 8 to 10 feet away. The players don't know what to do with their hands. They look weird. They're not smiling. Does anybody recognize any of that? Do you agree with my theory or not?
No, it makes sense. I mean, you're usually like busy grabbing the check.
That's right. Jason, what do you think?
I like to think that I'm weird. I think that I like to naturally, doesn't matter. I can find the camera.
All right, very good, good. And then we had winning Division D, Paul Hunsberger down from Ottawa, Canada. So that is Lake George. Let's put a wrap on Lake George, unless there are any anything that you guys can think of. We're going to move on to a couple of other topics. Anything you got for me on Lake George? It was fun, right? We had a good time.
Yeah, I think so.
Very good. If you enjoyed Lake George, if you played and enjoyed it, maybe give us a shout out in the comments or what you liked about it. Mina, I see it. I think I have a mental block. It's definitely me that is the problem. So I am going to take some lessons and try to figure out how to pronounce Cesar's name. Okay. The other thing that was interesting, actually, was that a lot of your guys' international lexicon compatriots were over in Goa. So what do you think, what influence did that have on Lake George? Because the two conflicted. Who do you think was over there that would have been in Lake George otherwise?
Tim and Benji.
Oh, for sure.
Bob Lynn, maybe.
Bob Lynn, yeah. Sam Cantomathi might have come.
Right? Yeah. Maybe.
I'm trying
Not
to
on
think
my
who else.
watch.
It's quite possible that Jesse might have come up as well.
Right. Yeah.
It's possible. It's although I don't know if Jesse's ever been to Lake George, but Jesse could have come as well.
So you guys were, I think, a division of 19,
Yep.
Which is a little bit low for Lake George. I think basically the difference is the list of names that was listed there. So it's just interesting to see how it would have played out. Did you guys spend any time considering Goa?
No,
Yep.
I can't. It's in the middle of the semester. I can't
Okay.
just randomly go to India.
Jason,
Yeah,
what were your thoughts?
Well, I did, but also because we have the Mattel World Championships coming up in Turkey in about a month.
Yes. Right.
And it was kind of a one or the other, and I think I think there was a little bit more going for me personally going to Turkey over Goa. So
Gotcha.
yeah. So I had some thoughts about it. There was even the little part of me that said, ¿por qué no las dos?
What does that mean?
but-
I don't know what that means.
Why not both?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of what factored into it.
Well, maybe you guys can bring me up to speed, and I'll ask Matt to go on this first. But why are there two world championships?
Because MSI wants to expand their influence.
What is MSI?
They're-
Hold on, Jason. We'll come to you in a second.
They are a non-existent organization because they didn't pay for anything and went bankrupt.
Oh, I
So
see.
they
Okay.
changed their name. So now they're actually TMA.
Oh, I haven't heard of TMA.
But
Okay, Jason, give us a little more less biased explanation.
Well, so one thing is that Mattel did contract MSI to start running World Championships starting in 2013, I want to say, because I was at the first one that was in Prague. That was more the traditional, and I know that there was some butting of heads over various things. One thing I know is that a lot of people like the WESPAC format and like the idea that they've earned a bid for their country. I know that MSI/TMA is like, no, let's make it an open. I think that there is validity to both, to be honest. What really happened though was that TMA, as I understand, was waiting to hear what Mattel wanted to do. And so what happened was that WESPA announced WESPAC, and then Mattel said, "Oh, we want to host we thought the event in Turkey was really great. We want to host another World Championship."
Yes.
And so that's why there are two World Championships.
Okay. So again, the world of competitive Scrabble, this is at the heart of some of the divisions within our community, is that the game Scrabble is corporately owned by two different giant toy companies, Hasbro in North America and Mattel in most of the rest of the world. And that leads to different lexicons and different major championships. So we could do a whole show about that. But I think it's safe to say that I guess it's fairly unusual, though a more recent phenomenon, to have two world level kind of championship events in the same year. Is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean,
and
they
it splits.
had it in chess for a bit, but it eventually reconciled.
Yeah.
Right. And I think it's also important to note that really the headline on Goa, which was the WESPAC championship.
Yep.
It was WESPAC, I guess,
Yes.
was that it was won by Nigel Richards, his fifth world title or fifth WESPAC title. I'm not sure which, but
it's technically, if you want to call it, because there have only really been 3 WESPACs.
Oh, I see. Okay,
So it's his first WESPAC.
Okay, but 5 world titles.
Yes.
Which is amazing. Nigel's the greatest Scrabble player ever. I think everybody would acknowledge. But of course, his opponent was the amazing Jesse Day. Now, if you don't know who Jesse Day is, we did a whole episode asking, is Jesse Day the second best player in Scrabble? And we submitted for people's, which was really just a way to try to get people to watch, but because this is something that is very subjective as opposed to objective. But Jesse's had a hell of a year, going back to last year's World Championship, where he fell to Nigel, where he went to this year's King's Cup, where he fell to Nigel, and then ended up winning the North American Collins Crown. And now again, he runs into the buzzsaw known as Nigel, and Nigel wins WESPAC. So, if you're interested in Jesse Day, you can check out past episodes on this channel to find that. Any thoughts on Jesse Day's performance, guys, over in Goa?
I'd love to see an American win someday.
Yeah, and it was that's one thing in Lake George. A bunch of us were in a room. Cesar connected his phone to Kieran connected Cesar's phone to the TV in the room, and we were watching watching games 1 and 2 of the finals. And then it was interesting because I went to bed after game 2, and Nigel had won the first 2. And when I got up and saw that it ended up 4-3, I thought it was going to kind of go. I mean, great fight back by Jesse. Unfortunate that it didn't happen. But yeah, an American winning is gonna happen sometime in the near future.
Maybe it'll be one of you two gentlemen. I could see that as a possibility. What do you think?
Well, Torquay is coming up just immediately after my birthday, and if everyone wants to be magnanimous and give me a nice present.
And Matt, you just threw into the comments 2023. That's your target?
I have to hold myself to it now.
All right, very good. Very good. And the other thing to note, I thought it was very interesting that, I mean, I don't have much of an opinion about it. I don't know that much about how WESPAC is run, but obviously there were some technical and logistical challenges at that championship. So, but again, I don't know what to think about that. I was in the room with you there for that viewing party. I think the next day, I messaged Jesse with a picture that I took of that entire room, so
yes, you did.
He appreciated that. And yeah, that was a lot of fun. And didn't the games go down? Nigel took the first 2, Jesse took the next 3, and then Nigel took the final 2. Do we know if that's the case?
I think that's the right order.
Okay, what a roller coaster for probably both of them. Although I don't know if Nigel feels ups and downs. So, okay, that's going to do it for our WESPAC coverage. guys, I want to thank you for joining tonight on our initial night on YouTube. You can always see our past episodes on YouTube. I know I've said that like 3 times already. Some interesting stuff coming up. Have either of you guys ever played the Asheville tournament? Asheville, North Carolina? Okay. I have not either, but I am going to be in Asheville in a week and a half from now to provide social media coverage. I'm really looking forward to it. Asheville always attracts basically 100 people. It's a very large tournament, and it caters to a more kind of, southern player base. So there are going to be players there that I've never met, I'm sure, looking at the registration list. And I'm just looking forward to it because those people seem like they have a really good time. I watched a video that I'm going to post on this channel at some point of their 2018 event. They did like a highlight video. And a thing that I loved was they play music in the playing room, not during games, but before games begin and all during the lunch break, and there's video of people dancing and having a good time, which is not necessarily the typical scene at your average Scrabble tournament. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
No one has taken video of the instances at Niagara Falls where they start playing the Thai crossword game music and I'm rocking out.
Nice. So, if you're a fan of social coverage of tournaments, I guess that's going to be not this weekend, but next weekend I'm going down to Asheville. I'm super excited actually because I've never been to Asheville. I've also never been to Atlanta, so I'm going to be flying into Atlanta, heading out to Asheville right away, but then coming back and spending an extra day in Atlanta checking out that city. So I'm excited for that. So with that, guys. Number one, because Jason is on the show, first of all, I want to get a cat thing up on the screen, and we're gonna play out tonight with Scrabble Cat, of course. And what I want to say to people is, thank you very much for watching. Oh, here's a late shout out. Joey the K is making his first tournament appearance in over a year at Asheville. Apparently he had enough membership, like he doesn't have to renew to get in there. It'll be like his last tournament for a long time. But he's making an appearance, so I'm going to be seeing Joey. I think I'm in a room with him. So we're going to play out with Scrabble Cat. With that, thanks for watching. The next live show is going to be in 2 weeks. Going to go live the day after I return from Asheville and Atlanta. That seems like a big mistake. But that's when we're going to do the next show. And as I always tell our viewers, support your local directors. They're working hard for you. Thanks, guys. Why don't you wave as we bring in Scrabble Cat to finish it off. Okay. And Matt, you've got the gift there. You're in behind the gift. All right. Good night, everybody. Goodbye, Scrabble Cat, and we'll see you all in 2 weeks. Let's get the thank you for watching credits up. Bye-bye.